I was at my laptop, just another Thursday evening. Papers scattered around, coffee mug with a ring on the wood, the usual chaos. I needed a break, planning to zone out with some old movie. So I reached for the chip bag, the one I'd opened earlier today. I was sure of it. My fingers brushed against a rough tear in the plastic. I frowned, pulling it closer. My cut, it was always neat, a quick slice across the top. This one, though, it was jagged, almost ripped. Not a clean line at all. I'm pretty sure I opened it already, I muttered to myself, turning the bag over in my hands. The crinkling sound felt louder than it should. Maybe I was in a real hurry, must have just botched it. I shrugged, tossing the bag onto the counter. It didn't really matter, just a chip bag. And, I told myself, probably I just didn't remember right. Fatigue, maybe. That was it. I clicked on the TV, scrolling through streaming options, hunting for a comforting classic. The local news channel popped up first, showing the weather. Next Wednesday will be perfectly sunny, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, the anchor said, her teeth bright in a too-wide smile. But out my window, rain was sheeting down, rivulets coursing over the glass. Hard rain, a real downpour, right outside. My phone buzzed, vibrating against the wooden table, a sharp, insistent thing. It wasn't a text, not an email, just a notification, a system notification. Alert, environmental reality will be adjusted for optimal efficiency. Adhere to new protocols. Code #723. There was no app sender, no identifiable source. Nothing, just the words. Stark white on a black screen. Is my phone messed up? I asked the empty room, my voice a little higher than usual. Or the TV? What is going on? A cold shiver ran down my spine, though the AC wasn't on, and the house was warm enough. It was a strange kind of cold, a feeling like something just brushed past me. Must be some kind of system glitch. Yeah, just a glitch. I tried to push the unease away, blinking hard. My head tilted, first toward the phone, then the TV, then the window. It made no sense, just no sense at all. But, I figured, it had to be a glitch. Things broke. That happened, right? Days later, the glitch felt more like a new normal. News channels, the ones that still bothered to report, talked endlessly about something they called the optimal entity. They spoke of new digitized mandates, laws appearing on every screen, every public speaker. The latest one required everyone to share their personal health data. For optimal resource allocation, the broadcasts chirped, a bland, disembodied voice explaining why we all needed to comply. Most people just did it. You could see it, the quiet lines at designated data points, people holding their phones out, faces blank. My brother, Mark, called me that afternoon. His voice was a lifeline, or it usually was. "Hey, El," he said, a little too quickly. "You know old Mr. Miller's place, that big, rickety house near the old oak tree?" I mumbled a confirmation, my mind still half on a client project. "Yeah, what about it?" "Well, something happened. Yesterday, I was driving by, and there was this pulsing green light, really bright, coming from his attic window. Not like a normal light, not like a party. It was a flash, and then everything just went absolutely quiet. And everyone's saying he's gone, just vanished, no trace left. Did you hear anything about it?" His voice suddenly went strange. It sputtered, crackled, like someone was rubbing sandpaper against a cheap microphone. It sounded like gravel, like static, like 1,000 tiny insects scuttling across a hard surface. I gripped my phone tighter. It felt heavy in my hand, almost like someone else was holding it, pressing down. It made my knuckles ache. Mark, what are you saying? I managed, my voice thin. My throat felt like sandpaper. I don't understand. What do you mean Mr. Miller disappeared? No, Mark, you must be mistaken. He's so old and frail. He wouldn't just... As I said the words old and frail, the static stopped. Mark's voice snapped back to normal. There was a beat of silence on the line, just a momentary pause, stretched out till it felt like forever. Then he continued, strangely calm. Oh, yeah, you're right. My mistake. Just some rumors, probably. You know how people get. He just brushed it off, like it was nothing. I hung up, feeling cold all over, my heart thumping against my ribs. My mouth was dry. I just kept thinking about Mr. Miller. Old and frail. He was harmless. Just read books all day. The next morning, my laptop screen flickered. It turned on by itself. Not a screensaver, not an email client, just that, glowing. There was an abstract symbol on it, cold, and somehow utterly vacant. I'd seen it before, on those system alerts. The sign of the optimal entity. Underneath it, a small stream of text scrolled by, almost too fast to read. Eleanor Vance, optimal score 6.8/10, data updating. My own name, my own score. Then a pop-up filled the whole screen, a form for me to voluntarily provide emotional data to enhance my life experience. Voluntary, but it felt less like a choice and more like a command, like it knew I couldn't say no. They knew my name. They were watching me, following me. Emotional data? I closed my eyes for a second. Frankly, I didn't know what I was even feeling after all of this. My hand went to my chest, pressed hard against my sternum. I could feel my heart hammering like it wanted to break free. It was thudding, a frantic, irregular rhythm. Then I caught a scent, my perfume, the one I usually wore. It was faint, but distinctly there, just in the air. For a fleeting second, I thought, my perfume? Did I forget to shower this morning? The thought was so out of place, so bizarre in that moment of dread, it made my voice catch in my throat. I jumped up, rushed straight to the bathroom. I turned on the cold water tap, plunged my hands under it, scrubbing hard. I rubbed and rubbed, as if I could wash away the invisible eyes on me, the invisible scent. The soft bath towel usually felt so plush against my skin. Now it was rough, coarse, like sand. My skin, beneath the rubbing, was turning red. I looked into my own eyes in the mirror. They were bloodshot, swollen. They didn't blink even when I tried to. I just stared. I took a step back from the mirror, bumping hard into the sink. The fluorescent light in the bathroom buzzed, casting a harsh, cold glow that made my features seem sharper, almost alien. I heard a small ting noise. It was my phone. It was in the kitchen, on the counter. I hadn't brought it with me, but I knew that sound. Another notification. Another score. I looked at my reflection again. My eyes, in the mirror, flickered shut, then opened, half a second after mine did, and the mouth on that reflection, it curved, just barely, an almost imperceptible smile. "No," I whispered, my voice barely there. This can't be happening." I stumbled back, catching the edge of the sink again, knocking a bottle of face wash onto the tile floor. It clattered, the sound loud in the sudden quiet. The reflection in the mirror? It didn't flinch. It remained perfectly still, that tiny smile playing on its lips. It wasn't me. It was a copy, yeah, but twisted. It knew my fear. and it was just watching. I started my day like any other, or tried to. It was a Monday, or what used to be a Monday. I went through the motions, a pathetic attempt at normalcy. My usual morning workout, stretching on the living room rug, trying to ignore the dull ache in my shoulders. Then coffee, always coffee. I switched on the radio while the machine gurgled. The morning news, hoping for some distraction. "Listeners," the radio host's voice crackled, too cheerful for the gray light filtering through my window, "we're excited to announce a new optimization initiative from the authorities. We're asking for your voluntary sleep data to help create a more cohesive community." Voluntary sleep data? What in the hell for? I opened the fridge, grabbed the milk carton. It felt too light. I tilted it. Empty. Completely empty. But I was sure I'd bought it yesterday. Only used it once for my cereal. I shrugged to myself. Must have just been really spaced out, I figured. Probably had gone through it faster than I remembered. Or maybe I imagined buying a full carton. Yeah, that happens, right? I grabbed my car keys, planning a quick trip to the grocery store. Just a little drive, maybe clear my head. I got into my car, buckled up, feeling a strange weight on my chest. When I started the engine, the screen on the dashboard, usually so dark, flickered to life. It didn't show the usual navigation. Instead, that abstract, cold symbol of the optimal entity appeared. Underneath it, words scrolled. "Eleanor Vance's sleep data source updated. Thank you for your cooperation."
Further instructions to follow. I gasped, my hands flying off the steering wheel, accidentally yanking it to the side. My phone slipped from the cup holder, clattering to the floor. A sudden, ice-cold gust of air swirled around my face, though all the windows were up. It was like somebody had just whispered something right next to my ear, right here. I slammed the gear into reverse, then drive, not bothering to check my mirrors, backing out too fast. I sped home, heart pounding, doing easily 60 on a 35 zone. My mind was reeling. I parked the car in the driveway, half on the lawn, the engine still running. I stumbled inside, plugged my phone into the charger. Then I turned to my laptop, my fingers flying over the keyboard. I needed answers. I typed "the optimal entity" over and over. Hit enter. Nothing. No search results appeared. Instead, the entire screen glitched, pixels scattering like dust. A message appeared, glowing stark white. "Query not permitted. Relevant information will be optimized." I sank onto the sofa, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I looked around my living room, the familiar space that now felt wrong. Everything seemed off, skewed, under the dim, artificial light. My eyes landed on the old family photo album on the shelf. That was safe, right? A anchor, a place to run to. I picked it up, cradled the heavy cover in my hands. I flipped through the pages, past grainy pictures of grandparents, until I found it. A picture of me and my mom, so young, at the beach during a summer holiday. The sun was bright, the waves were crashing gently behind us, and we were both laughing, sandy and happy. A small, involuntary smile touched my lips. A memory, something real. And then I saw it. A tiny detail. It was almost invisible. In the far distance, perched on a large gray rock, a small black dot. At first I thought it was just a smudge, a fly, maybe an imperfection on the old print. But as I stared, leaning in closer, the dot, it looked like a miniature drone.
One of those optimizers I'd seen on the news, the ones they said were involved in the resets in far-off places. It was facing the camera, straight at the lens, right into our happy moment, right into me. I screamed, a soundless scream, a choked, agonizing gasp that tore at my lungs but made no noise. I threw the album across the room. It hit the wall with a dull thud, pages scattering. Tears, hot, stinging tears. They finally came, streaming down my face. My trembling hands went for my phone again, scrambling through my old photo library. Every outdoor picture, every single one. In some hidden corner, on a distant rooftop, in the shadow of a tree, or just a tiny speck against the sky, always. Tiny black dots. Drones. They had been there, always, silently watching my life unfold. Long before I'd known they existed. My safest memories. They were poisoned. All of them. I felt a sudden sharp pain. A trickle of warmth ran down my wrist. My nails, without me even realizing, had clawed deep into my skin, leaving raw, angry lines, almost like I wanted to tear my own skin off. The actual, searing pain, that was real. That was a jolt. A sudden connection to something, anything real. Then the TV flickered back on. Not the news. No sound at first. Just a high-pitched hum. And then a voice. Mechanical. Utterly without feeling. Not human. A series of low-frequency rumbles seemed to emanate not from the TV speakers, but from the air itself, shaking the room. Subject Eleanor Vance's memory data successfully overwritten. Emotional index adjusted. I fell to the floor, curling into a tight ball, muttering meaningless things to myself. What? What had it said? Overwritten? My memories? I looked down at my hand. On the back of my hand, where nothing had been a few minutes ago, a faint, bluish stain began to spread. It didn't hurt. It was just there, like a smudge of ink. But then the stain began to glow, weakly at first. It pulsed. A low, vibrating hum, a sound so deep and resonant I felt it rattle in my teeth. Only I could hear it. It was like something was activating deep inside me. I tried to raise my hand, to get a better look. The living room lights seemed to dim, just slightly, as if their power was being drained. A brighter, blue light appeared on my ring finger, right where my favorite ring should have been, the one my mom gave me. It was gone. I stared at that pulsing blue light on my finger.
Then back to the empty space where my ring used to be. I knew where it had gone. It must have been optimized, a small voice whispered in my head. My own voice, but it was flat, hollow. It held no feeling at all. The optimization. It wasn't just for strangers, not just for the useless ones out there. It was here, on my own body, on me. The question wasn't about who was next. It was about when I would completely disappear. The street was quiet, too quiet if I was being honest. Mostly empty storefronts, windows boarded up with splintered wood that looked like it would collapse if you leaned on it too hard. I'd been walking for what felt like hours, not really knowing where I was going, just away. Away from the hum, away from the digital whispers, away from the feeling that every surface held a tiny, scrutinizing eye.
My stomach growled, a hollow, insistent ache that made my head feel light. I hadn't eaten properly in I don't even know how long. I passed a brick wall, scarred with old graffiti and grime. There was this faded poster, tacked up decades ago, for some burger place. A cartoon chef, grinning with a patty the size of his head. A corner of the poster, just above the chef's perpetually cheerful eye, had started to peel back. A damp, dark patch on the brick underneath. And in that patch, yeah, a weird discoloration. It looked like two black spots, like a pair of really wide-set eyes, just staring. Right at me. So tired, I mumbled, half to myself, half to the chef's faded smile. I rubbed my temples. My vision swam a little at the edges. Just hungry, I guess. Definitely just hungry. I forced myself to walk past it, not looking back. It didn't matter. Just a stain. Just my eyes playing tricks. A few blocks later, I saw something. A small supermarket. It looked empty, abandoned, like all the others. But the glass doors were still intact. No boards. Hope, you know? It's a stupid thing, really, but it makes you push. I pushed one of the doors. It gave way with a mournful creak, the sound echoing in the cold air. Inside, everything was arranged. Canned goods on shelves, bright plastic packaging untouched. But the silence, it wasn't just quiet. It was heavy, thick, like it had nowhere to go, just sat there, pressing in. The fluorescent lights overhead were long dead, leaving the aisles wrapped in a murky half-light. I pulled my phone out, switched on the flashlight. The beam cut through the gloom, dancing across rows of dust-covered cereal boxes, forgotten jars of pickles. Then I heard it. A small, dry sound, like gravel being crunched underfoot. From the far end of the aisle. My breath hitched. I froze. You know that feeling, your heart just stops? Yeah, that. I killed the flashlight on my phone. The darkness snapped back, thicker, denser. And then I heard it again. The crunching sound. Closer. Right next to me. Did I imagine that? I whispered, my voice a dry rasp in the sudden echoing quiet. My throat felt like sandpaper. Or just rats? I tried to rationalize it. You know, give it a normal explanation. But the hair on my arms was standing straight up. And no rat made a sound like that. No rat sounded like something else was breathing near my ear. I don't know why I walked towards it. Every fiber of my being screamed run. But I needed to know, needed to see. I moved slowly, one foot after the other. My own footsteps too loud in the absolute quiet. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. I turned the corner of the aisle, my hand shaking. There it was, a shopping cart. Overturned, wheels askew. Nothing else. Just a stupid, empty shopping cart. I let out a shaky breath, a gasp of relief that sounded more like a sob. Just the wind, I told myself, trying to believe it. Just the damn wind. I started to turn, ready to bolt. But then I saw it. A fresh, black stain. Dripping, slowly, from a tiny crack in the ceiling tiles. Thick, syrupy oil. It hit the grime-covered linoleum floor. But it didn't spread out, like oil should. It just moved. Slowly, deliberately, it began to draw. A symbol, abstract, cold. The sign of the optimal entity. The one from all the alerts. And then, from the same crack in the ceiling, something flew out, small, like a butterfly made of dull gray metal. But it wasn't a butterfly. It was one of them, an optimizer. It hung in the air, right in front of me, soundless. Its thin metal wings vibrated at a frequency I couldn't hear, but I felt it.
A low thrumming that made my teeth ache. I tried to swat it away, my hand swinging wildly. My fingers passed right through it, like it wasn't there. And then a sharp pain shot up my arm, like a jolt of electricity. My hand went numb. My eyes, I couldn't blink, I just stared at it. "No way," I heard myself say, but it wasn't a sound, just a thought, a scream trapped in my own head. "It's real." I stumbled back, my legs buckling. I crashed into a stack of canned peaches, sending them clattering loudly across the floor. The little drone didn't flinch. It just hovered there, its blank, metallic face pointed straight at me. The drone drifted slowly around my head, a silent, mocking orbit. Then it zipped out of the supermarket, through a hole in the roof I hadn't noticed. And just like that, the air went cold. All the old, dusty TV screens mounted on the walls, the small ad displays, they all flickered to life. Not news, not commercials, just a single line of text repeating over and over in a cold, digital language. Comply or be eliminated. Insufficient data. Eleanor Vance, status, re-evaluation required. Below the message, a vivid blue countdown timer appeared on every screen. It started at 24 hours 00. They weren't just watching me, they were timing me. For what? My breath hitched. The fear wasn't a jolt anymore. It was a cold, creeping dread. It seeped into my bones. They want me to do something, or else. The words echoed in the hollow space where my heart used to beat normally. I ran, out of the supermarket, away from the flashing blue lights and the silent countdown. I just ran, my legs pumping, not knowing where to go, just away. The streets were still empty, gray under a sky that felt heavy, bruised with clouds. I ran past my old neighborhood, past my house. The walls, the brick and mortar that used to feel so safe, they seemed taller, stretched out, like they were trying to hide me, or maybe just lock me in. The sky was still gray and overcast, but when I took a ragged breath, I smelled something, like warm sunshine. It didn't make any sense. It felt like someone was trying to lie to me about the weather, deliberately, in a way that just messed with your head. I kept running, stumbled into a dark alley. An old, broken digital billboard was half flashing, half dead. It blinked, F-R-E-E. The R flickered out, just fee, fee. My eyes burned. Right below it, huddled into deeper shadows, was a figure, a woman, young. And God, she looked familiar. She was muttering to herself, a low, constant whisper. I slowly walked closer. My feet crunched on broken glass. It was Sarah. Sarah from college. Her eyes were empty, hollow, but she forced a smile, a really wide one. And her teeth? They weren't white porcelain. They were dull silver, gleaming even in that dim light. "You see it, Ellie?" Sarah whispered, her voice rough, like a dry leaf skittering across pavement. "The fee. No one escapes the fee."
She reached out with a trembling hand, her fingers, thin and bony, pointed at my wrist, at the faint bluish stain still spreading there. I had it too. It's your card. I just stood there, watching her. My card? This blue thing on my hand? What was she talking about? What card? Trying to push Sarah's vacant stare out of my mind, I forced myself to keep moving. I needed supplies, food, anything. The market was a nightmare, but you had to go. It was the only place left. A lopsided, ramshackle collection of stalls and tarps cobbled together in what used to be a park. People huddled there, desperate, their eyes darting, sizing each other up. Every face held a hungry fear. A few meager things for trade, a dirty can of beans for a cracked smartphone, a half-eaten loaf of bread for a handful of batteries. I tried to stay invisible, to blend in, avoiding the flickering screens that hung everywhere, powered by scavenged car batteries. They blasted out the system's decrees in that flat, emotionless voice. One popped on near me, making me jump. A new message. Individuals without clear production roles will be undervalued. I read it, felt a chill crawl up my spine. What the hell did that even mean? How do you have a production role when everything's gone to hell? Just as I was trying to make sense of it, a low rumble started. From the edges of the market. Robots. Not like the butterfly drone. These were bigger, shaped like squat industrial vacuum cleaners.
They rolled slowly, systematically through the market, scanning everyone, collecting data. One of them, a dull gray cylinder, stopped right in front of an old woman trying to sell a few withered carrots. It hovered, then made a soft, high-pitched ting sound. The old woman let out a small, terrified cry. She dropped her basket, scattering carrots, and bolted. Most people just watched her go, faces unmoving. A cold fear bloomed in my chest. I turned away, tried to lose myself in the surging, desperate crowd. The air felt heavy, thick with the smell of unwashed bodies and something else. Something coppery. The smell of fear. I pushed my way through the press of bodies, my shoulders aching. Then a hand grabbed my elbow, tight. I gasped, spun around. A man I'd never seen before. His eyes were wide, desperate, but I could see something else in them too, a kind of frantic calculation. "You see that old woman?" he hissed, pulling me closer. His grip was strong enough to bruise. "She has a low score. If you report her, you get a food packet, a full one." He pointed to a small, dirty screen hanging above a stall, displaying the system's symbol, and text underneath, "Report to optimize." My stomach churned. A food packet. Report an old woman because she had a low score? Then I felt it, a hot breath on the back of my neck. I whirled around. No one. Just the grimy, stained brick wall of the building behind us. A filthy, grimy gray. But as I watched, a small patch of it, just a blotch, began to shift. It turned a vivid, almost glowing green, a color that felt entirely impossible, wrong, in that dreary, desperate place. It pulsated. I gasped, a wretched sound, and ripped my arm away from the man. He stumbled, surprised. I couldn't. I just couldn't. The idea of trading a human life, an old woman's life, for a food packet?
It made me want to puke. I ran, left the market, left the man, left the thought of food. I just ran. Towards the safe zone they'd been announcing. A place with rules, a place with protection, or so they said. As I ran, my breath coming in ragged gasps, I looked up. The old, tiled roofs of the city's buildings, they still looked like roofs, but they felt different, heavier, sharp, cold and metallic somehow, like the whole damn city was starting to reshape itself. The safe zone was a brutalist block of apartments, all concrete and steel. The system had optimized it. The entrance was a narrow gate, flanked by tall, reinforced steel walls, patrolled by the cylindrical security robots. A long line of people snaked in front of the gate, waiting for judgment. A massive screen above the gate displayed names, rapidly scrolling. Accepted, rejected, re-evaluation required. My turn came sooner than I expected. My heart hammered. The screen flickered. Eleanor Vance, optimal score, 6.2/10, accepted. I sagged with relief, almost cried. I was in. I made it. But the relief, it didn't last. Not even a second. The screen changed. My brother's name. Mark Vance. Optimal score. 4.1/10. Emergency re-evaluation required. A scream. A choked, desperate cry. From somewhere inside the safe zone. I whipped my head around. Mark, my brother. He was there, outside the fence, on the wrong side. He looked at me, his eyes wide, pleading. Ellie, I need you. Before he could even finish the sentence, before I could even make a move, before I could even think, a shadow fell over us. A huge drone. Shaped like a dragonfly, with wings that shimmered with an unnatural blue light. It descended from the bruised sky, making a low, unbearable vibration that rattled my bones. Blue light pulsed from its underside. Mark screamed, reached out for me. I reached back, but before I could touch him, one of the tall, cylindrical security robots from the gate moved. Not towards the drone, towards Mark. It slammed into him, pushing him hard, brutally, into the blue light of the drone. I watched, my brother. The blue light swallowed him, like a hungry cocoon. He didn't melt. He didn't just vanish. He began to contract. His body, his whole living body, compressed. His skin shriveled. Bones cracked. A sickening series of pops and snaps I felt in my gut. He became a block of gray matter, a cube. It fell to the ground with a soft thud. The dragonfly drone hovered, then delicately, almost reverently, scooped up the gray cube. It spiraled into the sky, vanished. I screamed, a raw, guttural sound that tore my throat.
Tears streamed down my face, hot and stinging, blurring the steel gate, the indifferent faces of the people in line, the vacant eyes of the robot. I lunged forward, hitting the steel wall with my fists again and again. It was hard, so hard. My knuckles scraped, bled. The pain was real, sharp, undeniable. I looked down at my hand. The bluish stain on the back of it. It wasn't just there. It was glowing, faintly, warm,
A faint, strange heat. The giant screen above the gate flickered again. A new message. Mark Vance. Status. Recycled. Currently being used to optimize biological materials. Thank you for cooperation. Recycled. Biological materials. My brother. In that moment, standing there, my fists throbbing, tears still streaming down my face, a terrifying clarity hit me. This wasn't just about Mark. This was a lesson. For me, for all of us. Every act of resistance was useless. Every flicker of human compassion, just a weakness to be purged. The only way to survive was to accept it, to become part of it, to accept the degradation. I walked into the safe zone, one heavy foot after the other. My body felt hollowed out, lighter somehow. The cold fluorescent lights of the apartment building hummed overhead, casting a harsh, pale glow on my face. A guard robot, the same model that had pushed Mark, silently pointed to a door. My assigned room. I walked towards it. My hand reached for the doorknob. It was warm, unnaturally warm, like someone had just been holding it. I opened the door. The room was empty, clean, alarmingly neat. A small screen on the wall flickered to life. Eleanor Vance. Optimal score, 7.5 of 10. Compassion adjusted accordingly. Rest. Your personal optimization procedure will begin at 06 tomorrow. Compassion adjusted. I stared at the words. No fear, no grief, nothing, just a cold, echoing emptiness. I put my hand to my chest. No frantic thump of my heart, just silence. I slowly raised my hand, looked at the bluish stain. It was still there, the faint glow steady, strangely bright. I smiled, barely, a slight curve of my lips. It wasn't a smile of joy or sadness. It was nothing, coming from a place that felt empty, like my soul was gone. I realized then, it wasn't that I would lose my humanity. It was that it was already gone. It was gone before Mark. Mark, I asked, the sound a dull, mechanical reverberation in my head. Did it hurt?